Gulf for Good is a local not-for-profit organisation in the UAE. It's also a UK-registered charity.
Okay.
We've been operating here since 2001, and we're one of the oldest charities within the UAE. We operated here before even the governing bodies were in place. Our bread and butter, what we kind of do on a day-to-day basis, is we take people from typically the UAE, but actually around the world as well, to developing nations, and we do an amazing challenge in that destination whilst raising money for a charity project in that destination too. And we would, so for example, we would take a group to climb Kilimanjaro, and we would raise money for an orphanage in Tanzania.
This is a new episode of Tell Me Why, which is a Gulf News original podcast. Joining me in the studio is Kat Kearsey, who is the chairwoman of Gulf for Good. Kat, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Maria. How are you?
Good, good. How's everything? How is the weather like? How are you feeling today? Like, what are you up to during the week? Has it been busy?
It's been crazy, as always. I work full-time as well as being the chair of Gulf for Good. So I think every day is a busy day. But it's been great. I mean, the weather to me is just amazing right now. I don't want it to end. I know that, embrace it while it's here, because it'll be gone not too many more days from now.
Yes.
But yeah, all good.
Absolutely. Okay. Kat, I'm really interested, before we dive into the topic and before we talk about like all the details that we discussed before the show, I want to know more about you. So when did you come to Dubai, or the UAE, if you moved around in the country? And how did you get here? Like, how did your journey start?
So I am originally from the UK. I lived my life there, went to university in Nottingham and worked in Nottingham for a year after I graduated. And in my when I was at my job, I met a girl. We just clicked and got on like a house on fire. Both of us wanted to travel, but neither of us had any money. Okay. So we started looking into destinations that we could potentially move to. And literally got a map out and kind of closed our eyes, spun around, tried to figure out, and it was kind of the Middle East. And then we were like, started researching.
Nice. Okay.
Dubai seemed actually feasible. We started doing a little bit of research, but not a lot, because 3 weeks later we moved with nothing. So no job, no contacts really, just a little tiny bit of money and some hope. And actually, 3 of us moved in the end. So my friend Caroline, myself, and another girl called Nicola. And 3 of us moved over when we were 22 years old.
Okay.
So it's back in 2005. Got off the plane and hired a car. Drove almost accidentally to Abu Dhabi because I couldn't figure out how to navigate turning around on Sheikh Zayed Road. Yeah. And then... and that was the beginning of our journey. So I lived in Dubai since 2005. It's given me everything. I met my husband here. I had my children here. I have had a wonderful career at many amazing brands. I worked for Emirates Airline, then Jumeirah Group, and now I work for Marriott International by day.
Okay.
And then by night, I share Gulf for Good. Yeah. Right. So yeah, that's kind of my history, and I love it here. It's home. I think I've gone through that kind of journey of wondering, do I need to go home? Do I need to be closer to my parents as they're getting older? And that's really hard, I think, for a lot of expats here. That pull home is strong, and it's stronger with the children who are missing their cousins and uncles and aunts and grandparents. But the lifestyle here, the quality of living, the fact that you get to live as well as work, and I have the ability to volunteer and work and have some play time to myself. Yes. I just think that is something that you get more here than I think back home.
I agree. 100%. We were having this conversation before we started recording. It was always Dubai for us. We may have moved for a short while, and then it was always coming back to Dubai. This was home. This was our base, even though we are expats, as you said. But it just gets you thinking to what home means to you and what it is actually.
I don't know about you, but what I've seen is the number of people who have gone home and then come back here, because it actually has been such a hard kind of retrenchment that they've missed their life here so much that they've ended up reversing that decision. And I think that is what would happen with us.
Yes.
So I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, so we're not going to try. We're just not going to try. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned that by day you have a job and by night you work. You are the chair of Golf for Good. So tell us a bit more about that. I hadn't heard of it, to be very honest with you, until I spoke to you and I spoke to your team. So what is it about? Like, what do you actually do in Golf for Good?
Yeah, so I'll tell you the story of what we do, and then I'll tell you how I ended up in Golf for Good, I think. So firstly, Golf for Good is a local not-for-profit organisation in the UAE. It's also a UK-registered charity. We've been operating here since 2001, and we're one of the oldest charities within the UAE. We operated here before even the governing bodies were in place. Our bread and butter, what we kind of do on a day-to-day basis, is we take people from typically the UAE, but actually around the world as well, to developing nations, and we do an amazing challenge in that destination whilst raising money for a charity project in that destination too. And we would, so for example, we would take a group to climb Kilimanjaro, and we would raise money for an orphanage in Tanzania or a school in Tanzania. We've last year went to Machu Picchu and did the Inca Trail, and we raised money for a girls' school in Cusco. With Everest Base Camp, and we're raising money for either a school or a children's home in Kathmandu. So that's the premise of what we do, and we normally run about 4 international challenges a year. This year we're being a little bit more ambitious and trying to run 7 or 8. We'll see.
Cool. Okay.
And so that's kind of our bread and butter, as I said. And then on top of that, we do a number of different activities to help gear people up for those challenges. So we organise local training here for people who are signed up for challenges. So stair climbs in the tallest buildings in Dubai. We hike at Ski Dubai at the weekends up the slope, to get people familiar with what it's like to climb in the cold.
Yeah, the climate.
Yeah, they can test their gear.
Yes.
We hike in the mountains, so we'll take groups to Rak or Fujairah, just trekking, getting them their fitness ready, because a lot of the challenges we do are physically enduring. So we try to get people prepared by doing that. And then we work with corporates. So corporates will approach us and we'll do team building hikes or training sessions, whatever it was. We can offer kind of bespoke solutions to them. And in return, they'll sponsor us or donate to one of our charities that we're raising money for. Amazing. So every year we kind of identify around 4 to 8 charities that we partner with, and we'll drive all of the fundraising that we do through the year to those causes. And they're always in developing nations.
Okay. I was just going to say, like, what if someone doesn't want to do a challenge? Can they still donate, or can they still volunteer? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Firstly, we have our social enterprise, Thrift for Good, that was born out of one of my favourite people in the world, Jennifer Salt. So Jen used to work for Golf for Good, and she came up with the idea to launch a charity shop in the UAE, initially online, then it became a physical store. So through Thrift, we have a huge number of volunteering opportunities, because there's all sorts to do in the stores, whether it's steaming clothes or working at the tills or sorting items. We can also volunteer for Golf for Good. So we've launched a volunteer program this year. We're trying to kind of like marry your skill set with what we need. So we have people who are supporting on PR and communications, introducing us to different media companies, or writing or managing social media. We have people who've got experience in the travel sector who are helping us organise our challenges, and just kind of playing a little bit more of a consulting role on the ground to help us get the best deals for our challenges who come on those. So that's kind of how we work. I would say our volunteer program's a little bit smaller than the Thrift. Thrift's got a lot, there's volume accessible there, because there's so much work to be done and it's physical. We We also have volunteering reps though, and volunteering guides. So for our hikes, we have qualified guides that work with us that volunteer for us. We have reps who've done our challenges that will rep a hike, and they'll talk to people who are on that hike about the challenges and let them know what it feels like to do a Golf for Good challenge, and talk about what we've got coming up so that they might sign up for one of them. So there's loads of opportunities to get involved, and we're actually trying to formalise that a little bit more, because it's there's so many people who want to give back here, and we want to be able to help them. People contact us all the time.
Absolutely.
So it's just about navigating through that, because obviously we're a tiny team but very busy. So we do get requests, and we try to get back to everybody as quickly as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, a lot of people might have they want to take the initiative, but they just don't know how, or like which stream to go through. And I think that's crucial that you facilitate some of that as well. I just have a question. So do you do stuff with schools as well? Like, do you also spread the word through schools? Do you have like school activations or awareness campaigns?
We do, but it's something we're actually developing right now. So we have links in schools because a number of people, especially board directors, have children in schools in the UAE. So we leverage our contacts there to spread the word. We've actually running 3 family-friendly challenges this year. So
nice.
In 2022, I went to Malawi with my daughter, and at the time she was the youngest challenger that we've ever had. So we volunteered at a charity called Sparkle that's also it's also got presence here in the UAE, but Sarah, who founded that, is basically an amazing school in Malawi that helps the children on the ground there that have very little. So Rosalie and I went down there and volunteered, and the interest that we got off the back of us coming back from that experience was phenomenal. So this year we had taken the decision to launch 3 that you could bring your children to, and we will be driving actually communications across schools over the next month or so. So we're running Ethiopia, which runs on the 31st of March. Okay. So we're taking a group of people to Ray Foundation, which is an incredible charity just out on the outskirts of Addis Ababa. So, and actually my daughter's record is going to be gazumped by one of our board directors, Natalie, who's amazing. She's bringing her twin boys who are 5 years old, and they will then become our youngest ever challengers. So that is open to families, and there's single mums coming, or other parents with their people are coming as a family, or they're coming on their own with one child perhaps. So it's completely flexible. We can cater to people. And then we have an Indonesia challenge running over Eid in June 14th to 19th. So the second Eid. And that is to somewhere called Acacia Camp, which is in West Java. And so it's kind of more, it's not really a physical challenge as such. It's more working with the local community, helping out wherever, experiencing local life and building awareness and providing funds to the people on the ground there. So also very family friendly, because everything is going to be tented and in an enclosed, safe space. And then the third challenge we have that's family friendly this year is to Uganda. So we'll be flying into Rwanda actually, and then driving to Uganda to a village called Kasoro, which is on the far west side. And there we've partnered with this charity for many years. So we've been helping them develop the school on the ground there. And we'll be working with them, working with the children, playing games, helping, working with the teachers, seeing how we can just basically all hands on deck, what we can do. And then there'll be an option for people to do the gorilla trek, which is just nearby into the national park. So that will be amazing. I'm taking my whole family and we're going to do that one.
I was just going to say, you have to try that. I was funny enough. So I just attended Kevin Hart's comedy show.
I'm so sad I missed it. Was it good?
He did mention the gorilla trek.
No way.
He went to Rwanda recently and he was saying that he did it. Obviously, he had a funny story to tell. But I remembered as you were saying, I was like, I heard that before. So but he did say that it was an amazing experience. It's once in a lifetime.
It looks it. It's obviously it's optional because it's expensive, but it does sound a little bit once in a lifetime. And unfortunately, you can't take the children to that because there's an age restriction of 16 years old, because obviously there's a slight safety element there.
Yes, makes sense.
We're just working through the details of, okay, so where am I going to leave my children while my husband and I
exactly
bribe
some friends to babysit until you guys go.
So our lovely Natalie from the board is maybe going to join, and one of her team is maybe going to come and help babysit the children.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. You have the support. Do it. Okay, before we get into, because you mentioned Eid, so we are going to get into Ramadan. But before we get into that, because I just find it crucial to open our children's eyes to these, I mean, I don't want to say harsh realities, but they aren't easy for them to see that there are other people in the world that are less fortunate and that might have certain struggles that we're not aware of, or that kids these days aren't aware of because they don't see it, immediately.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to know, what was your daughter's impression? I'm actually curious to know. I want to know, what's the impression that these kids are left with once they're back from these trips?
I think it's had a profound impact on her. So, I mean, the kids here, they are very privileged and really blessed with, what they can have, what they can do. So I think that's one of the reasons I took her. I wanted her to see that, how fortunate she is, and also to understand that there's other people in the world, some of whom, many of whom actually need help and support, and how can you as an individual contribute and make a difference and make lives better. So I think it was one of the most amazing trips of my life, and I think hers too. We went from also a mother-daughter bonding experience, but she's also at the time she was 8 and very much wanting to be independent and kind of run her own sessions and work alone without me around. So I also, that kind of having that freedom and allowing her to do that, I think was really just helped her grow as an individual. I think when we look back, she just talks so fondly about it, and it's given her a huge amount of story to tell, and it's a very unique experience that not everyone has. So a class, when she came back, her class were fascinated by what she'd experienced. Also kind of sharing of that information was really kind of empowered her, and also helped give them something interesting to listen to that was a bit different. My son, who we didn't take because at the time he was 4, is, Mummy, when are we going to Malawi? Like kind of desperate to go. And I've already talked to Sarah actually about a trip for the 4 of us, because he asks me all the time because of how my daughter Rosalie was about it and what she saw. But the one thing that I think just is really important to note is the children that you meet in any country. I don't think I've ever been to one of our charity projects and not been greeted by a sea of just smiling, happy faces. So regardless of our perception of what we think is happy and what we think is privilege and having what we have, I don't think that guarantees happiness in the way that if you're living and working on the land and creating, and if you're physically active and you're playing all the time, and you're one of the lucky ones, because always when we go to the charity projects, these kids are the lucky ones. They are the ones who have protection, they have access to education, they have a roof over their heads, they have food.
Right.
And not all of the children in those countries have that. And so I'm very mindful that, yes, for sure there's privilege here, and we are, I guess, happy and lucky. But actually, I think that I'm always left with this profound respect that actually happiness comes from it's within you. It's for who you are, and making the most of what you have. And that could be nothing, and you could still be extremely happy. So it's really, it's an amazing experience. It's so, I think it just makes you really reflect on your life. And I always come back from any challenge, actually, but particularly the volunteer challenges where you're working so closely with the kids and the staff on the ground. It just really makes you reflect on what is important. And actually material goods do not bring happiness. Like having access to amazing restaurants doesn't bring happiness. Friends, connections, working with nature, being with nature, that's what I think brings happiness.
Yeah.
But the safety, security aspect, that is obviously important. No one can operate in, a place where, they're being abused or they haven't got a home. That's obviously awful. And that's where we try to give as many children around the world those kind of the basic access to education, food, safe, and a home. And I think once that's in place, then you kind of create your own happiness.
Absolutely. I love that you shared that with us. Thank you. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't the easiest, obviously, as well with what you've seen on the ground as well, and then reflecting that upon yourself. But I know I had a friend who did that with her kids as well. And she said after that trip, they realized that it's not the gifts that they get that make them happy. And it's exactly what you said. And they started putting aside presents every birthday, knowing that they'll send it back to that village that they visited, knowing that it's not that extra gift that's going to make a difference. And one of them actually came and told her, he was 7, I think, or 8 at the time. He was like, they have nothing, but they're always smiling, and I'm always complaining. And he was only 7, and she's like, that to me was the success of the trip.
That's the learning.
That's it. Like I was done. I was good. I could go home after that lesson.
But that's a lovely initiative that they're like donating their presents, and it's so important. And it's so right. They're happy, and we complain.
And to them we might have everything materialistically. However, they have the happiness. They have that one thing that we keep seeking through these materialistic things. Okay. Going back to, you mentioned there's a Eid challenge. What about Ramadan? So since it's the holy month of Ramadan and people are fasting and people want to do good during the month-long fast, are there any special initiatives that you're doing during Ramadan, and how can people get involved?
Sure. So every year we have a Ramadan campaign that we run and launch throughout the month where people can donate. So this year it's called The Gift of Giving, and we're raising money for an amazing charity in Pakistan called the Citizens Foundation. So it's basically a program to develop and educate children in Pakistan in rural areas. So the idea is that you purchase a gift and you give it to somebody, and then that gift is the donation for that charity. It's all of our campaigns when we're fundraising are, I think, without fail through Yalla Give. So with the licensing that we get when we are approved to fundraise, we set up a Yalla Give campaign that'll be accessible through our website and Yalla Give directly, and people can go and donate. And we're just trying to raise as much money for that charity as possible. We've worked with them for a couple of years now, and looking to actually hopefully visit them next. Well, you heard it here first. But I had a really amazing meeting a few days ago with a charity that are based in Karachi, and they have satellite kind of schools in different parts of Pakistan. So I'm wondering if we could support both and do a trip to volunteer at one of them and then support the other, or we can do a split challenge where we support both. So more to follow. Amazing. But 2025 challenge may be on the horizon to Pakistan.
Nice.
If we can. Obviously, there's a safety and security element, and we were meant to do a challenge there a couple of years ago, but we had to pull it because there was just political unrest at the time. But I think things have settled down a little bit, and we're now starting to explore that again. Fantastic. So that's our Ramadan campaign for this year, and then we're also hosting an iftar. So we typically run an iftar every year. This year it's on the 21st of March. It's at the Strand, which has become our happy place for running events. The team is amazing. They're so supportive of us and just really flexible, really amiable. The staff there are incredible. The food's great. I mean, everything is just perfect.
Amazing.
Everyone should come to the Strand, although not all the time, because then I would never be able to get a
exactly.
table.
Then you won't get a place to sit or enjoy.
Yeah, but it's lovely. It's a really nice environment, and so we're hosting there. There's a charge, I think it's $175 per person, and that obviously gets the iftar experience.
Okay. Do you find that there's a surge in donations and volunteers during Ramadan?
Yeah, we do. I think to your point, it's a time where people reflect and they think about how they can give back. And it is just a time of giving and a time of reflection. Mm-hmm. So we do experience people wanting to donate and just contacting us with sponsorship or partnership opportunities that maybe wouldn't happen so much the rest of the year. People approach us about our campaigns. People also want to organise campaigns with their companies.
Nice.
So we can also, if your company wanted to have a campaign, we can help that. We can help facilitate that as long as it's supporting one of our charities, because the work behind, getting an approved charity here in terms of we go through a lot of due diligence to make sure that every organisation that we work with is audited properly, everything is above board, we have proper documentation, we make sure that there's a project that we're funding so we can see when it's been implemented that the money has directly gone to that. So there's a lot of due diligence that goes into that. So we drive the organisations to support one of those kind of pre-approved charities because it's easier and quicker, and we know that we will see that the money will go to the right. It'll make it to the child at the end of the day that will benefit. So yeah, lots of different ways you can get involved. And I think this morning I had 5 volunteer emails saying I'd like to volunteer and give back. So that's definitely more than normal. I think that number tends to ramp up at this time of year or during the kind of lead up to Ramadan. And actually, I think it's something on the table for us to think about is that during that month, how else can we support people to give them those kind of volunteering opportunities? So I'll take that away and think about it with the team.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. Before we let you go, I know we've taken up so much of your time, but what's your advice to people who want to do good but just don't know like how or where to start or what to get involved in, basically?
I'd say, firstly, you can reach out to us. We're available at info@golforgood.org, and we'll come back to you and give advice. But I would say that it's easy. Fundraising is quite daunting. It can be quite overwhelming, the prospect of having to hit a target potentially, So I think doing it with a partner or a group of people is actually a really kind of soft way to get into it. This year we've had a mother and son approach us to do a fundraising campaign for one of our charities in Tanzania because they're climbing Mount Meru, and off their back an initiative they've approached us because they want to coordinate their trip with the ability to give back to a charity in the country that they're going to do that in. And so I think it's about asking the questions. I think there's a perception here that fundraising is a big no-no or it's not possible. That's not true. You have to find an approved organisation that's got the legislation in place that all the permits, etc., and the working relationship with IHC. So we're obviously fully licensed to operate like that. But that, takes time. And IHC actually is an incredible wealth of information as well. The people who work there are phenomenal. They all really care about giving back. So I would say that that's also kind of a place that people could go to ask for information. They hold information evenings occasionally, which will help kind of dispel any rumours about fundraising here, which it's all possible as long as you have the permits in place to do so, and as long as you're doing it through an organisation that has that ability. So I would just suggest reach out, ask questions, join forces, because that helps kind of I think with people comes the opportunity to brainstorm and think about what you can do and be creative. I think the best fundraising kind of things that I've seen are always around events. So if you are not afraid to host an event or to run something and think a bit creatively or differently about it, then the world can be your oyster and you can actually raise a lot of money for amazing charities. And IHC, the whole premise behind them is about, with all of the money that is here, we know that this is such an affluent country. It's about taking funds from the UAE and supporting those developing nations around the world where there isn't so much money. So I think if anyone is wanting to do that, they would be very supportive.
Amazing. Okay, where can we find you guys?
So we are on we have a website, which is www.golf4good.org. Also, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, setting up on, oh my gosh, my mind's gone blank, video, TikTok.
Amazing. Nice. Okay.
So all of that is Golf for Good with the word for, not the number. So Golf for Good. You can obviously find us in the mountains at the weekends. We've got, I think, 8 challenges lined up between now and the end of the year. So we're running, so I mentioned already Uganda, Ethiopia and Indonesia, but we're also running Everest Base Camp in October. We're running Machu Picchu in July. Yeah.
Okay.
We're running Malaysia in also July, and Kili. We're doing a Kilimanjaro women's only challenge in July as well. Lots going on in July. We've got Uganda in August, as I mentioned, and I think very excitingly, we've got Bhutan in November, which we've actually been provisionally granted permission to visit without the permit that most people have to pay, because it's very expensive to go to Bhutan.
Yes.
But because we're raising money for charity, they're actually supporting us by waiving that.
That's
so it's
amazing.
An incredible opportunity, and I'm pretty sure that challenge is going to sell out. So super exciting.
I'm sure.
Otherwise, we have a ball as well. So our gala ball, which we host annually, is on the 1st of June.
Nice.
And that's at the Ritz-Carlton in JBR. And it's just a wonderful community evening, celebrating our challenges, celebrating our charities, celebrating everything about who Golf for Good is, and just basically trying to raise awareness and get as much money raised as possible for our charity projects as we can. So we're starting to sell tickets now, and people can join us and also find out information in that evening. We'll talk about everything we've got coming up and share as much information as we can. And around the tables, there'll be leaflets and flyers and QR codes so people can go and find more info.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing everything today, because I feel like I, for one, learned so much, and I'm sure, the audience did too, because we put out a poll, and a lot of people are they're not aware. As you said, there's always that. People are always tiptoeing around fundraising and, charities because of the rules and regulations, which are in place so that, you don't face scammers or whatever. Exactly. It's all for a good reason. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing everything today, Kat. It was lovely having you.
You too. Thanks
Please
for
keep
having
me posted. I'd love to come to some of these events. And
I think you should come on a challenge.
Yes.
What are you going to sign up for?
Oh.
Can I convince you to do Kilimanjaro?
Physically, I feel like I'm not there yet.
I feel like you should know that I did that without any training. So it's all in your mind.
It's in the mind, huh?
100%.
Okay, well, maybe then I'll think about that, because I like the fact that it's all women and, women empowerment. I like that. Okay, let's think about it.
Deal.
Thank you. Thanks so much.